Welcome to another episode of Women Investing in Women. My co-host Robin and I are absolutely delighted week after week to showcase different women from different walks of life with different backgrounds and experiences, stepping into the arena to truly find so many different ways to invest in themselves and each other. There is no time like right now where we need each other. As women become more empowered and women are showing up in their power, the prior power structures are getting disrupted. And as those power structures are disrupted, we need to come together to support each other, lift each other up, and not allow the old structure to separate us, drive wedges between us. And if we can lift each other up and support each other and go the distance with each other, what we as women can do in our own power is unstoppable. And that is why today's conversation is going to be absolutely remarkable. And you are going to love having our former guest that you have loved and enjoyed listening to. By popular demand, we're bringing her back, and I'm going to keep it a secret for one more second until Robin steps in and introduces our amazing guest today.
Awesome. I am absolutely thrilled to once again have our wonderful Debra Morrison back as a guest. She was one of our first guests as we are nearing our 2-year anniversary. She was one of our first guests. And I actually met her in 2018 at a conference, was completely impressed by her. We became good friends and colleagues. And Debra has over 40 years experience in the world of finance and financial guidance and investing, a master's degree, and many certifications. And she recently she has focused for a long time on helping widows and older women deal with their finances, because people of our generation, oftentimes the woman was the wife and really didn't handle the finances, and I didn't know anything about that. And she was like, heck no, you can do that. And somewhat recently, Debra began a movement called We Can Do It Women, for women over 60 and over, although there's younger women now part of the movement as well. And so, Debra, my first question is, what led you to move from just working with women in general, kind of focusing on women in general and widows, older women, to actually developing a movement with a name and a logo and a Facebook page and retreats? We Can Do It Women. What shifted into this actually forming this group and giving it a name?
Well, thank you, Robin. And it's so good to be back. I have so much passion for women, and particularly mature women, right? Who now we're representing a very, very large percentage of society. And we have been kind of defined even more recently, and particularly more recently, in rather derogatory terms. We've been defined as our use value, if you will. Useful to have babies, useful to keep the home, useful to work at ridiculous wages while our equally trained male counterparts are getting real wages. And we're not able to pierce through that economic discrimination in order to come fully into ourselves in the financial realm in particular. And yet it also has a dampening effect on our psyche. And when our confidence gets hammered and beaten down, and maybe literally, then our ability to imagine a different life, a dream come true, a new vocation, or even establishing a new hobby and pursuing a new hobby or travel or whatever in our later years really becomes very, very much a small little thought. And pretty soon, boom, it's not even in our minds. And we are in the prime of our wisdom, ingenuity. Our brains are wired different than male brains. I've studied neuroplasticity and the brain a lot. And that ability of women to do that neuron chit chat and to imagine more than a couple of answers and options to situations is so valuable, especially in times of uncertainty. And we are in times of extreme chaos and uncertainty. And so it is up to women to be the voice, if you will, of reason when it feels to me like we've had this avalanche and tsunami of white men kind of bonding with other white men and corrupting the use of the power. Instead of, I was raised Christian fundamentalist, Jesus using power on behalf of the powerless. And Jesus is not the only religious leader who did that. And so there's this schism that has some women saying, especially women that were trained, in a religious upbringing, who's on first here? Wait, wait. And so I want to draw us women into the fullness of ourselves. You see, I'm putting a stake in the ground, and I am saying I am taking a stand for women to prosper, and older women in particular, because our runway is typically shorter, longevity speaking, and we have developed so many coping capabilities and so many accomplishments. We, in most cases, haven't been paid for them. And so now I'm introducing a whole lot of financial kind of workshops, educational kinds of things. We can do it, women. Yes, we can. So that we can buy ourselves with this tool called money more opportunities, more stages, maybe more donating to causes that we're passionate about, because it's when we band together that we are even more unstoppable than several of us doing our own individual messaging. So it's that confluence. One foot in that individual circle and you're doing your thing entrepreneurially or with a group, and then one foot in the system to change the system, to listen to what the system is saying. And if it doesn't promote the equal representation of women in our laws, legislation, government, and the distribution of money and assets, then I'm here to say enough. Why doesn't it? And it's our time. Yes, it's our time to reap the benefits of all that we've paid, all that we've sacrificed, and all that we still have to give and imagine.
Thank you so much. I am delighted to hear what you just said, and you hit on so many different things that are top of mind for so many women.
Right.
But then there are also so many women who say, my place is at home, my place is running a family. And women sometimes pull other women down, saying, you're being masculine, you're going after something, that you are emasculating men. That is part of the push and pull in society today.
Yes.
And I also loved how you brought the religious philosophy and the control mechanism that
Yes.
institutionalists use to control women, right? Anybody who's done research knows that women around the world do work for more than $1 billion every day for free.
Exactly.
And the patriarchy changed the economic ballgame to say that only things you produce for mass commercialization is work. And only that work is rewarded. Anything you do for your community is not work, which is not the physics definition of work. Work is expending energy to create outcome, to transform something from one state to another.
Right.
So giving birth, taking a sperm and giving a man a child, what baffles me is even God and Son of God couldn't come. I'm not Christian, but I have read and I understand and I embrace the philosophy of Christianity. Even Jesus Christ needed a human woman's womb to come to this world.
Yes, indeed.
So
Yes.
God and Son of God and the Holy Spirit, all three together, couldn't do without a real woman.
Right.
Why isn't that woman given a place of reverence in the so-called Christian confluence? And a part of it is also, why are we allowing Jesus and Christianity to be tarnished by this kind of convolution because then young people move away from spirituality, which is the heart of all wealth.
Right. Well, we are speaking up much more vociferously against it, principally because of the times in which we're living. This, what we're living amidst, wasn't even thought of before. It was actually we're just like, wait, you know. And the first time I saw a lawn sign in September of last year that said "Make lying wrong again." And it was in the town in which I was born, which is highly religious, highly fundamentalism, highly Trump country. And this was "Make lying wrong again." It was such a comeuppance, right? And so that is, of course, the point, is to overwhelm with this, rapid fire of various announcements and completely upside the head, notions and executive orders in this case that are intended to have people be unable to sift through and determine what's most important here, what takes priority. And pretty soon, unless there's the support of a network that says we can parse out, okay, Robin, you listen between 8 and 9 a.m. And I'm sure that this is necessary because there are people like Heather Cox Richardson that summarize the news, and Pete Buttigieg that summarize the news and the happenings literally every day. So we don't have to tune into news. We don't have to be completely occupied by it, but we do have to be aware and heightened, and we need to see what we're seeing and hear what we're hearing, put it through our own filters, and begin to process that in a way that says, I'm okay with some change. This is where it crosses the line. And for us to draw the boundaries, because you don't raise a child without boundaries and end up with anything but an unruly child. And so the fact is, we have been almost anesthetized, if you will, to any one of these particular lies, obstructions of truth, alternate facts. When Kellyanne Conway said that, 2016, I know exactly where I was. I was in my living room. I know the two places where my feet were planted when I heard that, alternate facts. And now I come from a rich financial background. Trust me, facts matter, right? And facts matter in life. How would you train a child? So by no means do I want anyone to take this away to say that I don't value mothers and good mothering. I do. As a matter of fact, we are in a time where good mothering is something that is so necessary, especially mothering boys in a heteropatriarchal society, to not just follow into the kind of absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? So we do need mothers, and we revere mothers and grandmothers, because sometimes the mother's out working a couple jobs because of the gender pay inequity. So yes, these are systemic problems that I am addressing largely in my vernacular, not because I was raised Christian fundamentalist, right? We'd go to summer camp and a little Nigerian boy would come over from Nigeria, right? And we'd say, well, I'm not racist. Here's my black friend, right? Okay, so get over yourself. If the systems otherwise oppress other people and elevate a different color or size or ability of a person, then it is not justice. It is justice for just us. And we are them to them as they are them to us. And it's time that we stop and we refuse to have any party, any politics divide us, because that's happened before in history. It doesn't have a good ending. So we are always better together. However, it does take longer to solve things with even one other person, let alone a committee. And that's not bad. Because what we have right now, and I've answered this question across from Stuart Varney at CNN 20 years ago. He asked me what my best asset was. I was like, what to say? I literally said to God, give me an answer to this question. Live television, remind yourself. So producers in your ear, short answers. Live television. I was like, what to say? And out comes, Stuart, I have two assets. The two best assets are time and health, and I don't want to waste either one of them. Guess what? We have time to pay attention to the rules and the politics of this nation, because I don't want to hear women say, I'm not political. I choose not to be political. Here's the clue phone. politics end up formulating and contributing to the formulation of laws. And legislation is what dictates to the Treasury how our tax dollars are dispersed. Yeah, you will be best served to be interested in that. Because if you or your kid or your grandkid has student loans that dwarf the size of your mortgage when you bought your house 20 years ago, that's a concern. If you or someone in your family has a small child and imagines wanting to have a career but can't afford the daycare, you want to be involved in politics so that we hold up. So we're either going to be pro-life in this society, or it's really pro-birth when you get to it, because the cutting off of the money the second the child is born. Like, we're not providing care then. We're making certain that the fertilized egg becomes a baby. But Christianity and mere morality says that you give those resources to each woman that is forced by this government. We can reduce it to something that's rather common sense, because I'm raised on a farm and I do common sense all day long. Whoever decides provides. You're going to tell me, government, that I have to carry a fertilized egg to birth? Okay. I was just going to say fine, but it may not be fine at all, because I may not be able to handle that responsibility, and it is a huge responsibility. But how about this? While I'm determining my mindset around that edict, whoever decides provides. You send me $27,000 a year from the moment of birth until 21 years old, and we know it doesn't end at 21. I want to tell you when a conversation about abortion would end. Right then, when we attach money to it. Right then. And so you can say, oh, Deborah, you're a one issue person. No, I am absolutely not. I'm absolutely not. I am a common sense person that thinks about the implications of said words, spoken words, written words, and history. And I am not so silly to think that history isn't a good teacher. It is a good teacher, and the smart people learn from history. And I do not want a small little group of our society taking all of us down a very dark hole. And I don't even want to say dark, because that has racist connotations as well. I want us to lift up women and lift up women's voices to say, no, no, no more. But
Deborah,
we have to be diligent about it.
Yeah, I'm loving, you have just given us so much. And in when you're dealing with older women, the women of your although you deal with all ages, what do you find holds them back from saying, yes, I can understand finances, yes, I can deal with finances, yes, I can invest? What holds them back, and what are some of the things you teach them to them say, I can do it, I can do this, I can understand these things, I can get control of these things? What helps women, older women, be able to jump that hurdle? What are the hurdles, and how do you help them jump over the hurdle?
It's a great question. And there are many hurdles. I think chief among them is this fear thing. We typically fear the unknown, but my dear late friend, Dr. Susan Jeffers, says, when people are in uncertain times and they don't know exactly how to do something, yet with so many people out there doing it anyway, despite a 1, 2, 3, 4 module, then we must conclude that fear itself is not the problem, rather how we hold our fear. And she developed a pain power continuum, which I actually have, and I didn't think of it before, but it's just so darn useful. And this is the pain power continuum. And she reminds us that we're all going to be helpless and depressed and paralyzed around various issues in our life from time to time. Yes, we are. That's the human condition. But there's a continuum here from pain over to power. So we might be feeling helpless, but we can move into choice. We might be feeling depressed and we can move into excitement. We might be paralyzed and move into action. Well, what paralyzes older women? Here's what paralyzes older women: they're getting sold an unsuitable product, and now they're even more trapped than they were before. And that's because rich, commission hungry salesperson, bastardize older women, and mostly widows. Mostly widows. I wrote this book, My Husband Died, Now What? A Widow's Guide to Grief Recovery and Smart Financial Decisions. Half of this book is grief coaching. Half of it is financial tripwires to avoid. So women typically don't know who to trust, because my personal circumstances had me advising a widow of a couple who sat in the same church pew for 42 years with another couple. The husband of this couple was the insurance salesman. He sold this man an insurance policy. When this man died, and he wasn't even buried about a day and a half, this insurance agent trots over to this woman, friends, 42 years, shared the same pew, trots over with the death benefit check and says, Judy, you don't want to take any risk with this money, do you? No. And he has her sign over the back to a variable annuity that has surrender penalties. She can't even get at her own capital without paying a surrender penalty. And I unwound that unsuitable investment, and that agent got charged back $67,000. When you have that kind of impetus as a commission salesperson, you're going to go after the vulnerable, and the vulnerable are widows and older women who have been mistreated, missold, abused, and whatnot. And then some women have taken a step on their own, made a misstep, and said, oh boy, that felt painful. I'm never doing that again. And so they would come into my office and say, I made a horrible mistake. They would always say mistake. I say, okay, so now I got my pen and pad. What's the mistake? But I would say, what's the misstep? Well, January 2nd, 1960, I lost $6,000 in the stock market. I'd say, okay, Bessie, January 2nd, 6th, whatever, I lost 6,000 stock. What else? No, that was it. But I've not done anything since, and I didn't lose any more money. Well, guess what? She lost opportunity, because you cannot go through a fast food drive-through and get a burger, fries, and a drink and change back from your dollar anymore. No, you cannot. And so we have to be investing in vehicles that, at least from a historical return standpoint, have the possibility of keeping pace with and outpacing inflation and income taxes, because inflation and income taxes are here to stay. And so women have only been told about that risky stock market with pundits whose veins are popping. The market is crashing. The market is crashing. And what the message to older women has been, to the exclusion of return, is risk, 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 risk. That's the stock market. Risk, 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 risk. Bonds are safe. Bull. You can lose a ton of money in bonds. Yes, you can. That might be a news alert to some of you. Yes, you can. And you can make a ton of money in stocks. And when women have been told that stocks are just risky, why would they venture into something that white men in particular have built their wealth on for centuries? So I'm about giving women the insight and the education that risk and return are inextricably connected. As a matter of fact, risk is the currency for return. Now, when women get that, I see this light bulb go off, and they're like, I should be investing more in stocks. Yeah. So I chunk it down to make sense for women, because they have a right to be fearful if they have been mistreated by people they trust. So women, one, don't know who they can trust. Well, here's the first clue. Trust someone that's not earning a commission based upon your work relationship with them. And there are fee-only people out there. We can put that in the show notes, how you find one. Two, if you made a misstep in the past, who has it? I have. I admit it fully on social and every place else. Warren Buffett has admitted to $6 billion mistakes with all of the resources he has and the guidance and the financial tidbits of knowledge, etc. Who are we to hold ourselves out as perfectionists? And yet, when we do, then we fall down and we just castigate ourselves because we fell down. Let's put this into context. Did you ever burn some cookies? Yes. Did you swear off making cookies for the rest of your life? No. Did your kid ever bring home a C or a D or an F? Yes. Did you kill the kid? No. This is about putting finances into context like we do every other aspect of our lives. But we have been basically told, don't worry your little head over that, Betty. Bob will handle it. Well, good. If Bob doesn't die prematurely or come home and trade you in for 230s. Now you're 60, 65, 70. You don't know how to write a check. You're feeling helpless. You're feeling stupid because, after all, it's out there on everybody's lips. Money. It's on the internet. I should know. No, you should not know. But I'm not blaming you for that socialization, which was horrific. Yet it is our responsibility. And we're going to live longer typically than our male counterparts. And we want to have money to live longer and be able to take our friends out for lunch and pick up the tab and be able to travel and be able to put food on our tables, not cat food. And so this is a message of urgency to mature women. Whatever's in your past, let's shed the shame, forgive ourselves for being human. It wasn't our swim lane. I never mothered a kid. You could snow me in a New York second about how to do that. And then we both be in a snowdrift. No, we are dependent upon each other for the truths. And I talk about the truths about money because Wall Street and brokers are going to give you mistruths about money. They're going to pummel you with products, pay their own boat payments, and you are going to be all the poorer. I am here to put a stop to that. We can do it. We can do it with the right facts and the context around money. And when women get it, they are absolutely fantastic investors, and they do achieve their goals and dreams one at a time.
I love your passion. And I am so glad to see how you're taking your movement about economic and wealth empowerment for women
Yes.
and parlaying that into a larger issue to address what's ailing us today in our society, especially in the United States, more so than the others. And it's
Right.
amazing how time flies when we are having these interesting, deep conversations. So before Robin steps in and wraps this up, I just want us to take a moment and have you talk about what message do you have for women if they are interested in being a part of the change, to join your Facebook group, to be a part of what you are driving, and how they can take that and then start building smaller communities in their own communities, because change has to happen in local communities. We
Yes.
think globally and we have to act locally. What
Yes.
does that look like, and how can women lean into what you're doing so that they can replicate it in their community?
Well, thank you, Dr. Cass. And it's so critical. We attempt to put out new information and resources for people because it's like, I want to do something, but I am really booked today. I really only have 10 minutes. I don't have time to look it up. No. We give you the phone number. We give you the phone number for Congress. Call your Congress and voice your opinion. And then we give 50501 now is out. There are a host of operations throughout the country that continue to bubble up because of the need, the urgent need. And so it's not something that's static that we can go back 10 years and say, well, yeah, you could still support those entities. I mean, go back to my Facebook group, We Can Do It Women, and you can see the recorded interviews of Heather Booth, a staunch feminist who's fought for everything from registering another million Black voters to fighting for safe work conditions with the AFL-CIO, to women having the right to choose, et cetera. I mean, we have Gloria Feld, we have Jane Caro from Australia. These are brilliant women, and we are going to bring in more and more resources as they bubble up so that you can get a foothold, and then depending upon your area and the time you have, you can either invest on the phone, you can go to in-person demonstrations, which are very viable, and because visible is important, and then you can figure out where best you can use your energies. And there's always a need for money, so you want to push your money to the groups that are boots on the ground, that are grassroots, not these huge organizations where you're going to pay admin charges out the nose. So we attempt to give people, Dr. Kaz, an offering, if you will, of options that they can choose. Yet the first and foremost is these people in Washington are our elected officials, absent Trump, as absent Musk, excuse me. And we have an obligation to call them every day. It doesn't take long. and you get through to them. And believe you me, there are politicians that have come out and said, yes, these phone calls matter. So call your representatives, call the other party if you are affiliated with one of the parties, and make your voice known, because that is our power. And when history writes itself, and when people take well, typically history's been written by the white men, so and they're rewriting history now so that, you know, none of the voices of other than white men are heard. We are rectifying that. Believe me, there are archives that we will bring back out. Yes, we will. We will not be snuffed out. We are unstoppable. They may not look at us, they may look through us, they may abuse us, they may pass more legislation that disempowers us and humbles us, and we will prevail. Yes, we will. Black women especially put it all on the mat in this election. I was at the DNC many times. I was the only white woman in a room, and I was delighted. And you know what those Black women did? PhDs, 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 smart Black women. We have been cleaning up the messes. We have been in the hotel rooms after the white male parties. We have been cleaning it up and making it ready for the next abuse of that room, etc. We have been cleaning up and cleaning up and cleaning up, and it's time for us to stand up and be recognized. We don't want a position higher than that which we are otherwise skilled and trained for. We want to no longer be the gender of cleanup. And
Beautiful.
first, we need to stop the messes, because there's been plenty of them
Absolutely.
already.
You know, it's exciting because the name of this podcast is Women Investing in Women.
Yep.
And Debra does it literally, not only in helping literally in the investing in the finance, but investing in women, taking charge of their lives, taking action, looking at I love the chart that you held up, moving from pain into power.
Yes.
And following that spectrum of moving into our power. So thank you. And say one more time how we can get a hold of you, how women can get a hold of you. Say one more time.
Right. We can do it women.com/group. That takes you to the Facebook group. And then you can ping me from there. We can do it women.com website. Come one, come all, tell your sisters. We are bigger and better and stronger together. And I am delighted to participate in this. And I applaud your work, and I continue to watch you, and you are making a huge impact yourself. So thank you so much, Dr. Cass and Robin.
Great.
Thank you so
you.
much,
Thank you.
Debra.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you so much. Robin and I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and to our community of women out there and our community of men who truly care and support the women, it's going to take all of us to move
Absolutely.
the needle. We don't have to agree on everything. We really don't. But if we don't come together for the things that matter for us, for our children and our grandchildren,
Absolutely.
we are going to lose everything. And there is no point in everybody focused on winning the battles. And in the end, we lose the war. So let's please focus on what needs to get done to make this a livable, joyful, hopeful world. And you can call it tomato, I can call it tomato, you can be Christian, I can be Hindu. Nobody is right or wrong. We take different paths, right?
Yes.
And that is okay. But what is not okay is us selling each other out with the hopes that the one sold out will win. But no, divisiveness pulls all of us down the tubes. And so let's step up, lift each other up, and make sure we build a world that we are proud to leave behind for our children and our grandchildren. Because as women, we know and understand the power of that.
Yes.
And let's put that power to work.